Welcome to Gaia Dairy Farming Insights, the infotainment podcast for the Dairy Farming Network. Join our community that takes you on a journey through the vastness of milk production, your source of knowledge and inspiration in every episode.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of our Dairy Farming Insights podcast. My name is Maren Lüth and I'm your host for today. Our topic is farming your way. So we want to talk about the role of dealers and how they can support different farm types and farmers in realizing their ideas of dairy farming. And I'm happy to welcome Joep Wassing here with me. Joep, hello and please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Maren, for having me here. My name is Joep Wassing. I currently work as a dairy management support coordinator at GIA in the Netherlands. And I started my GIA journey, I think 4 years ago, at the dealer site in the west of the Netherlands as a dairy management specialist.
Right. So you're from the Netherlands, Joep. What kind of farms do we find there in your surrounding? What kind of farmers do you serve? And what's the general situation on dairy farms in the Netherlands at the moment?
Well, it actually is a very big diversity, I think, between 30, 40 cows until 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 cows. Yeah, most of the farms have around 100, 120 cows. If you translate that into robots, it will be 2, maybe 3 robots.
If you take a look at your role, how you approach farmers in your daily business, what are the typical questions, the typical needs and demands that you're facing in your daily work?
Actually, the work which you are responsible as a dairy management specialist is guiding and helping the farmers in the transition to milking with robots. 50% of the time you're busy with new startups. That's going to the farmer, make a pre-check before starting up with the robot. Most of the farmers just have a conventional milking system and they have like a very routine-based work day. Start with milking, start feeding, have some rest, do other job sites. Start with milking again, and then it's evening. And when they go to the new transition with the milking robots, then they have to adjust their management. So as a dairy management specialist, you will guide the farmer in that transition and also give some explanation about the startup. Where do you put the robots? How do you work with the robots? And after that, you will get a lot of questions like, can I do this or can I do that? The half of the time you're busy with that. The other 50% of the time you're busy visiting the current customers with milking robots. Also, if they already have experience like 10 years with their robot, you still visit them for or a cup of coffee or just have a quick chat like, how are you dealing with your robot? What are you running against? What can we improve? Things like that. Farmers want to change to robots because they have physical problems. You know, they have pain in the shoulder or in the back. And then if I get a question like that, I have physical problems, so I change it to robots. And I see a barn layout without a milking pit behind the robot. Then I always ask the farmer, well, why don't you have a milking pit behind it? Because, you know, we can reach the cow from the back of a robot. You can mainly attach a cow that needs help or getting your cows dry or things like that. So you will change to the robot because you have physical problems, but the barn layout isn't suitable for that. So we need to change that to have the best farm experience. If they're changing to the feeding robot, we only talk about the milk robot, but we also have the feeding robot. That's the why is a farmer changing to the feeding robot. That's also saves a lot of labor during the day and feeding the cow fresh feed multiple times a day. So it's a win-win situation because you have more fresh feed, more feed intake, higher milk yield, and lower labor time with feeding.
Let's start with that first group you were mentioning, first group of farmers. So farmers who have been milking with their current system for quite some time and now think about automation. What are the first criteria you would recommend or take a look at where you say, yes, this would be the right way forward for you and your farm?
The daily routine and the question, why do you want to milk with the robot? That's something you need to make very clear, because if the question is like, with the robot I can milk my cows 3 times a day and I will get a higher milk yield, then you know that's the focus point of the farmer. and you need to make sure that within the year of robot milking, he achieved that point. But you also need to check, like, okay, it's not a button you press. So you need to check before that, like, okay, the things you want to achieve, can we do that or not? Are the cows good enough? Is the feed good enough? How is the barn layout? Things like that. How's the management of the farmer? Or do you need to change the current management that he's having? Another thing could be like, okay, I want to save some labor. I do have a lot of employees which are milking the cows now. So the labor intensity of my farm is very high. I need to change that. That's why I buy robots. And then you know, okay, his point is to have less labor in a day. So you need to find a barn situation which is installed on the right way for his daily routine.
So it's really about listening first, getting to know the farm, the needs and the goals that the farmer wants to realize with this change in a milking system. Now, you also mentioned that group of farmers, of course, who have been milking with a robot for quite some time, and you are in regular contact with them as well. What are their topics that come back to you where you can give support?
Well, it could be some things they want to achieve in the future. So if you ask them like, okay, we started up with your robot 2 years ago. I know we talked about achieving a higher milk yield. Did you achieve that yet or not? And why not? And is there something that we need to discuss with some other parties like the feeding consultant or the vet? Maybe they can help achieving those goals. Or do we need to call a mechanic from our robot and see if we can optimize the robot in some way? It also could be like, okay, I'm starting with the milking robot. After a few years, I don't see some cows in heat anymore or things like that. And then you need to make a little bridge like, okay, if you have some problems with detect your cows in heat, then maybe we should look at cow scouts. And that's our program with seeing some cows in heat. Maybe that will help you. And how does it work? You explain how it works, and then you can make a link to the sales advisor and put him on the road.
So I see you really have you discuss all the different topics, the different challenges, and you are then also the person who can guide the farmer, give the right recommendations, or direct him towards any other consultant who would be necessary. Can you think of any possible cases where really speed made the difference? What you mentioned now is okay, you talk on a regular basis, you give good advice, but where is it really, of course, important that the dealer is really directly close by or near to the farmer and can react very quickly?
Yeah, I do have a case. About 3 years ago, we started up with a farmer who wasn't a farmer before. He was a pig farmer and he started milking cows at a dairy farm, just a second farm for his own. And that's a situation that you have an entrepreneur, which is also a very good farmer, and he sees a challenge in a new side business, and that's the cow business. You have a farmer with no experience, or not much experience with dairy cows, and that's the case that you can really help the farmer out with your own expectations, your own expertise as well, getting the robots on the correct base, asking the farmer what does he want to achieve, why does he want to start milking cows in the beginning, and how does he want to milk his cows. Does he want to work with employees or does he want to do it all by himself? And then there are a lot of more questions that the farmer needs to learn that I can answer. Like how is he going on with his cow health and things like that. So it's not for me to be there every day at the farm because as a GM you're responsible for the robots, and as the dairy management support you are responsible for the management of the farmer. But to make the connection to his feed advisor, to his vet, or other farmers in the neighborhood that can help him, that's the experience that you have and the links you need to make. So in the end, that was a very nice and good project that runs out very well. And we have a happy GIA customer in the end of the story. Who is now fully a cow farmer.
So you really helped him in making this transition and deal with completely different animals here on the way. But I think also the whole team which was behind then on side of the dealership, that's also a very interesting, important thing, or to have the right team with the right people and the right tools also behind. How do you build your team at the dealership?
I think you can divide it in 4 groups. So you have our mechanics, you have our sales group, you have our dairy management support, and our after sales. And after sales is more like our hygiene products and things like that. A product like this starts obviously with the sales. You need to make the first link to the customer, and the dairy management support joins the sales for some sales support and asking the farmer what he wants and what his goals are. Then, when everything is running, the dairy management support is there for some guiding during the startup phase and things like that. We do have the mechanics who will explain like how does the robot work, how do you work with this. If the robot tells you this, you need to press that button or do this. That's some guidings that the mechanics will do. And after that, we have the after sales support for the hygiene products and things like that. So also on this case, farmer milks with a cell count of 120. That's not that high. Actually, it's good, but the farmer wants to achieve like, okay, I want to have my cell count below 50. So how do we manage that? That's a question that got asked by me. So I was like, okay, then we need to see for the mechanics, how is our robot running? Do some tests with the robots. How can we improve that? But also with our after sales support, like, okay, he wants to have a lower cell count. Maybe we should use another dip that's better for his cell count, things like that. But also again, with back to the sales support, we saw that the barn cubicles where the cows are laying in were not that great. So maybe we could sell them some other cubicles that the cows are laying straight into the box and don't make a mess of the boxes. So that's the whole circle around within our team that we will help the farmer support his goals with our knowledge and our people. Yeah.
If I listen carefully to you, so it's really also a long journey that of course the farmer goes together with a dealer from the planning of projects to the support really of daily routines afterwards. How important is really the personal relationship, the trust building between farmer and dealer, and what can you get out of that as a farmer?
That's very important. It all begins with that. You have a good relation with the farmer. He has one person he can always reach out to, ask his questions, which help him out. And if that person cannot answer his questions, then he needs to put that question to another person who maybe can answer his question. So it all starts with the good connection between the farmer and, well, in this case, their management support. Yeah.
It goes hand in hand with the support really of all of your team members to see where it's needed and be at the side of the farmer to support, in any case and wherever it's needed. Yeah. Is there any specific thing where you as a team, any example of a topic that occurred at a farm where you thought, wow, this is almost impossible to get a grip on, or this is a big challenge, how you solved that with all of your team?
Of course, there are some cases that you're running against a problem which can be farmer related, which can be cow related, and then you think, if it's a cow related problem, like how can we manage it? How can we solve this? Because we are responsible for the technique, and we can help a farmer with his daily routines, or we can help the farmer with his barn layout. But if it's a cow related issue, we cannot change a cow. Then you need to talk with the vet or talk with the milking factory, like, okay, how we have a problem like this, we cannot find it in our system. What are the things to look at? Is it the feeding issue? Is it a bar laying out issue? Is it the hoof care issue of the cows, or is it a cow issue that there is some cow health problems? And who can we reach out that can make that link and find the solution? There still is the same route to go in our own company. So if the problem goes with this person, he will send it to the mechanic, to the after sales or sales support. We are involved with the problem, but there's one person leading the problem, and that's also always the dairy management specialist of that dealer.
So that's the key person for the farmer, and that key person will take on and make use of the network around to really fix the challenge and find the right solutions. Yeah, I see that. So there's so much to gain and to get out of this relationship and out of the relation to the dealer and working in a cooperative way with the dealer. So what would you recommend to farmers who want to challenge their relationship or who want to get more out of their network and their dealer support structure?
If there are things they are running against too, and they want help with the problem, because that's also a thing, not everybody wants help. If they're willing to have help from the dealer, first of all, they need to reach out to their dairy management specialist and ask for support. Then it's for the dairy management specialist to make the right connections to the right persons to solve that solution. It can be told to the dairy management specialist like, okay, I have a problem, this and this and this. But you can also turn it a little bit around, like, okay, I'm running against an issue. I will challenge you to solve that issue at my farm. So go ahead. That's another way of saying it that makes it a little bit more open-minded. Also for the team, if a solution or if a question like that comes to us, you will see that the most creative things will happen into the team. Then it's a problem you need to solve it. No, if you ask your question a little bit open-minded, you will get a lot of creative ideas. Not all good ideas, of course, but a lot of creative ideas.
What I hear out of that last sentence is really the approach, the team, the bundle of competence that there is behind the specialist who's in the first row, but that there's really a support structure and a great network for every farmer and the individual situation to gain from the dealership. So really reach out, make use of that good know-how and network base, which is there. So yeah, I think this is a really nice last sentence. Anything you would give as a learning to your dealers or to your team? What would you say? What's most important in being successful in supporting the variety of farms you are currently serving?
For our team, it's the most important thing to listen to the customer and try to achieve the goals that he wants in a way that we know we can manage. To the farmers, I would just say use your contacts and don't hesitate to reach out to them.
With all the expertise you have in your team, do you sometimes face farmers' wishes where after your visit and after you've seen and got to know the farm, where you came to the conclusion to recommend another idea or another system?
Yeah, you don't see that very often because the farmer will think about his choose very good. I do have a case that I visited the farmer. The sales representative was there already for the second or third time, and he invited me to join for the conversation as well. The farmer was already milking with a milking robot, but not with the Gia. And the milking robot got a little bit old. He had a little bit of problems with the robot, and he wanted to switch to a milking pilot back again. So our sales representative was there for a milking parlor installing in his barn, in his current barn. And the first thing I asked the farmer was, why do you want to switch from robot to milking parlor? And his answer was, well, I don't have that good of experience with the milking robot. So you know that. Okay, that's a factor that counts very deeply, I think. But then I asked the farmer, why did you switch to the milking robot 8 years ago? He was like, well, I have some physical problems. So my shoulder hurts and I have already a lot of pain in my back. He didn't have a son who wants to take over the farm. So he was like, that's why I bought a robot, but now I want to go to a milking pilot. We all discussed some points. I showed him our new G robot and he was actually very impressed. I showed him the milking pit behind the robot. He currently didn't have that. So he could stand up straight behind the robot, check his cows, even attach cows manually if necessary. And he was sold from that start. So he's now milking very happily with his new robot. And if I ask him again, he will say, no, I don't want to go to a milking pilot.
You mentioned that, of course, most of your discussions are about how to automate the milking process. And you already have in the Netherlands. We know that many customers and many farmers who work with milking robots. So is the logical next step then a feeding robot? How do farmers take that step?
Well, if he wants to achieve less labor, then I already tell the farmer, okay, we can make a barn setup for your milking robot and you save some labor on milking, but your daily management and cow routine still stays the same. If you really want to save labor, you need to check how long are you busy with feeding and is it not a good solution to buy a feeding robot? Because with a feed around you save a lot of labor and also you feed your cows multiple times a day, fresh feed. So that also increases your feed intake of the cows, which leads to a higher milk yield. So that's also a good equipment tool to use as a farmer if you really want to achieve some goals on your farm.
Thank you so much for giving us these insights from your daily work and from the experience you've made with so many different farms and different challenges you were facing. So I think this farmer-dealer network relationship is very important, and there's much to gain from it. So thank you for giving us those insights.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Seeing you next time. Bye-bye.
Follow us on our social media platforms to stay updated and subscribe to our podcast so you won't miss any future episodes. If you have questions, suggestions, or even ideas for future topics, feel free to reach out. Join us soon for another exciting episode as we continue to explore the world of farming and the people behind it. Until then, keep farming and growing.